Okay, so there's been a bunch of recent talk about the Snapmaker 2.0 extruder coming with the settings where it's not calibrated correctly. So I thought that it was something that I should at least try to do since, obviously I've got kind of a wacky setup here. So I wanted to go through that today since I had some time to do that. So you see this wacky contraption I got going on here, and you're going to laugh at this, but this was the best way after a few different attempts that I could kind of seem to get some pretty reliable, repeatable results, because there's something else that's going on that I can't yet necessarily explain, and I'm hoping that the community might be able to help out. But basically, I have a Snapmaker 2.0 A350 and an enclosure, obviously, and I've made quite a few upgrades. I've printed some custom parts to kind of do some stuff, but the custom parts and everything are not really the focus of this particular video today. This is just about the calibration for the extruder and an anomaly, I guess, that I have yet to explain. But basically, was going through the calibration process that's been explained through the Snapmaker forums, and I did notice that mine was set to 212 dot whatever the hell it is, which was incorrect, and I did come up with a similar yet more skewed result of my actual calibration extruder settings that needed to be applied, and I did save those, and it does come back up with the M503 command and all that. But basically, what I've done through a couple of different attempts is, and I can turn this back on and turned off, is that I was getting some funky results, and I just didn't necessarily think that it was accurate enough, and I wanted some more repeatability, because again, even after I ended up making the calculation and correction, I did still notice that it was still off. So I kind of set this janky setup up just so that I could end up kind of getting something that was a little bit more repeatable, that I didn't have to try and measure and do all that stuff. Basically a little jig. So I've got my digital calipers that are precariously mounted on top of my Snapmaker print head. Obviously you can see the gaffer's tape kind of holding it from swinging around. And you'll notice that on the top of mine, as opposed to stock, I do have a custom part that I had made as a Bowden tube adapter plate that bolts onto the top of the Snapmaker with the included screws. That's a custom part that I have in Thingiverse for the typical Bowden tube setup that I made, and also there is a custom Bowden tube top holder that I have designed that is available in Thingiverse as well. You can search for it, Snapmaker 2.0 Bowden adapter or whatever, it's in there, you'll find it. But basically, and again, those custom parts have nothing to do with this video. It's just explaining what these different things are that are not stock. Again, I have an enclosure, and because of me kind of going through some iterations to design some custom parts to relocate the filament holder, that's why I've got the top plate off, or the top plexiglass off. But what I am doing with it is I'm using it as a holder for the depth part of the digital calipers that come out, and I actually have it through one of the bolt holes in the top just as a guide, so that it doesn't swing around. But what you'll notice is that I have a spring clip that is, and I just have some more gaffer's tape kind of wrapped around it just to create a better mating surface, because the filament's so freaking slippery that it didn't want to grab on. So I've got some gaffer's tape kind of made into like a little pad, so that it grips onto the filament better. But basically, you'll see that I'm sitting here with 150 millimeters, down to 100 of the filament above the Bowden tube input, or the top of the Bowden input. You know what I mean. Anyways, in the instructions that have been kind of going around inside of the Snapmaker forums for doing the extractor calibration, they talk about doing a 100 millimeter mark. I did that and again, it just got a little bit too close for me to reliably and repeatably measure the distance difference. So I went with 150 just to allow me a little bit more room to clamp, with the clip and all that good junk. But anyways, it is free moving, and I don't want to touch it just because it kind of takes me a while to get everything nice and settled down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the computer, and I am inside of my Octo-Print terminal, and it allows me to type direct commands, just like it would be if you were in Luban terminal. Same thing. It's just that I'm going at it a little bit different way, but it is still giving the same command set, and it is talking directly to the printer controller. So it's going to be giving the same information regardless of what application you use to interface with the terminal. But anyways, what I'm going to be doing is I'll go over to the computer here in a second, and I will issue the command to extrude 100 millimeters, and then we'll come back and we'll see what's left. And my guess is it's going to be at like 52.4 or something like that. And again, I have already done my first extraction test and calibration or recalibration with what I had found out, and it still seems to be off. So I'm just trying to look and see what the community says may end up being the reasoning for that. So going back over here, so here's my setup, and I did end up extracting the text from the forums, so I can. So this is the Snapmaker Summary Extruder Calibration, a must. This is a document that's been floating around by SDJ544, where he goes through kind of a nice write-up and everything. So what I've done is I had already found out that mine was off by 12.66 millimeters stock. So mine also had that typical 212.21 as the E value, which was significantly far off, and mine ended up being 12.66 millimeters off, which obviously is quite a bit. So I ended up doing the calibration difference, and I did, and we can do an M503. I believe that's right. M503, I think, is the command. So I'm doing this in real time, so unfortunately, because I'm not going to take time to edit this video, it just kind of seems stupid for something so small. So bear with me, guys. Yeah, 503. Alright, so here's my response, and again, I have already done the calibration. M503. Send. For one thing that I have noticed, I guess, in Octo-Print is that it doesn't, like after a while, it kind of either just stops doing something, so I have to clear, and then I can come back. But if you'll notice, I've already made the change for my E value to be 242.97. So following these instructions for the extruder calibration, that was the first number that I came up with. So again, I have already made that difference. But I wanted to show you what I've done. So again, this G1 E100 F300 command is what is going to give us what the printer thinks is 100 millimeters of inbound filament on the feeder. So I'm going to paste that into my my terminal, and I'm going to click this and run over very quickly to show what this thing is doing over here before my digital caliper times out. In fact, let me go check to make sure that it's still on. Nope, and it turned off. Good thing I checked. Alright, so you can see that right now it's sitting at, let me get the camera to focus, it's sitting at 150 millimeters as described before, with the filament clipped onto it into the head. So again, I'm going to go make this. I'm going to go click send on this command, and I'm going to run over there real quick. So if you need to close your eyes, because I'm going to be jumping around here for a second, I'm going to send this command and then jump over there, and you can see what we have left. All right, so here we go, and there it is. Okay, so it's extruding, and my calipers are reading out what that extrusion is. So again, I'm basically 2 millimeters, just shy of 2 millimeters off still, and this is pretty repeatable. You know, within about a half a millimeter. So again, you know, I started at 150. I extruded 100. I should be left with exactly 50, or you know, very very close to that. But I'm still getting, you know, 1.88, between 1.88 and 2.4 something millimeters remaining, pretty well every time. So I was just wondering if anybody else has kind of seen this. You know, now that I've done this a couple of different times now, it is relatively repeatable. So I'm going to end up making a new adjustment so that I can try and find out if I can get it to be repeatably, you know, 50 millimeters left every time. But I'm looking for some feedback if anybody else has kind of gone through this level of ridiculousness to test the E settings. And again, obviously, you know, there's something that should be said here is Snapmaker, since you guys are active in the forums, maybe you can kind of take a look at this and make sure that, you know, there's maybe a little bit more quality control or something to help out with some of the settings, to make sure that more things are correct, because it's a little on the crazy side, I'll be honest, to spend so much money on the equipment and you know, something inside of the ecosystem just isn't correct out of the box. So if you guys are listening, which I hope you are, you should sort of take this as yet another example of people saying, what the hell? But yeah, if anybody can leave a comment, you know, we're at going to be almost 13 minutes on this video, so I do apologize for how long it is. But this is some of the craziness that I've gone through to find out what the problem is.